What is up, everybody? Excuse me for nodding my head to the tunes there. I enjoy those. But nonetheless, welcome to another episode of DSM Pre Game Live. As you know, our Philadelphia 76ers take on the Portland Trailblazers tonight. We got a late one on the West Coast, fourth game of the road trip here on the West Coast. But nonetheless, we got you covered here with the pregame show. It is pre-recorded, guys, so I do apologize. I know we love to get everybody in the comments involved. We will be back for the next pregame show, which should be Eagles pregame for that big playoff matchup on Saturday night. We'll be back with Eagles pregame show live on Saturday, so no worries nonetheless. But welcome. If you're not already, if you're watching, you should be subscribed to DSM Media. Hit that subscribe button if this is your first time checking us out. Turn the notifications on so you're notified every single time we go live. We will be here for every single Philadelphia sporting event to host that pregame show, get you covered with best bets for the game, and so on and so forth. But nonetheless, be sure to subscribe to DSM Media. Help us get to that 1,000 subscriber mark that we're striving for, and help us grow. The bigger the community, the more fun that we can have, the more growth that we can have, the more money we can make in order to bring you better quality content here. So be sure to hit that subscribe button, turn the notifications on, and we'll be sure to connect with you soon, I'm sure. For myself, you can find me at Scotty Drown on all social media platforms. Be sure to check me out if you like hot sports takes. But nonetheless, I'm always talking sports. So let's get into it today, guys. Really quick, I do want to go over some interesting stats if you missed Scotty Talks NBA. I went over the Harden two-man game. I want to go over it again on here just to get it to you, but really want to shout out my guy, Sean Barnard, who provided me with the stats from Pick Swap Podcast, Pick Swap Media. Be sure to check them out on YouTube, Twitter. You can find Sean Barnard on Twitter at Sean Barnard1. But nonetheless, he was kind enough to supply me with these statistics regarding the Embiid and Harden two-man game splits. So I just want to read those to you very quickly here before we get into what took place in the last game against the Clippers. Obviously, they were able to get their third win in a row on the road on that West Coast road trip. But let's go over a few numbers here just to give you guys an idea of where we're at. Because I know me and Dylan in the last pregame show before that Clippers matchup, we were talking heavily about that Harden two-man game. So I wanted some backup numbers to kind of prove what we were talking about. But nonetheless, Embiid's expected field goal percentage with Harden is 60%. Without Harden, Embiid's expected field goal percentage drops to 51%. It drops by 9 whole percentage points. Embiid's true shooting percentage with Harden, 66.8%. Without Harden, 60.2%. So close to 7% difference there. Embiid points per 100 possessions is 50.7 with Harden, 44.3 without. So the scoring output drops by about 6 points there. Embiid's at rim shot frequency is 35.6% with Harden, 28.3% without. That's pretty insane for all my people that want Embiid in the paint. That's insane. When Harden is in the game, a lot of those shots are coming in the paint, a lot more at least. 2-point field goals made that are assisted for the Sixers. So percentage of field goals made by assists, 67.8% with Harden, 46.1% without. That is the most astounding number because when those 2-point field goal makes, the percentage that are assisted by Harden, and excuse me, these are Embiid 2-point field goals made by assists, right? 67.8% with Harden, 46.1% without. So that means close to 21% more of Embiid's buckets are coming assisted when Harden is in the game. That means the big man's life is considerably easier when Harden's in the game. A lot of one-on-one Embiid going on when Harden's not there. Embiid's three-point percentage is 43.1% with James Harden on the court, 25.5% without James Harden on the court. Significant drop there. Embiid's 2-point percentage with Harden on the court is 59.2%, 53.6% when Harden is not on the court with Embiid. Once again, I'm presenting these splits. They are not my numbers that I found. These are Sean Barnard's numbers at Sean Barnard1. If you want to give credit, give it to him for finding these for me. But nonetheless, these show a lot of what me and Dylan were talking about the other night as far as making Embiid's life as easy as possible. And that's what Harden does. But on the return end, Embiid makes Harden's numbers look really good by finishing all those assists, right? So it works together in a sense. But nonetheless, that two-man game is ridiculous. Those splits are ridiculous. And just got to ask them to keep doing it, right? But moving on, let's talk about this last matchup with the LA Clippers, where I know Dylan coming into the show, into that pregame show, he was kind of in between. He didn't know who he wanted to pick in this one. I came on full strength, and I told you guys, Sixers are going to win this game. Don't get me wrong. Dylan picked the Sixers to win. It was after we discussed. I came into the show knowing the Sixers were going to win this game. My man Abe, if you're watching this, I know you picked the Sixers to lose, but that was what I was talking about at the end of the show there when we were making our picks. If this Sixers team is different, if we're looking at this product on the court and we think, man, this team looks different, they look like they win, right? Then there is never going to be a game where they're due for a loss. There's no such thing as a due loss. That due for a loss terminology that we were using with previous Sixer teams, even this Sixers team this year, right, before they kind of have gotten it going over the last month, that terminology stems from disappointment, right? The Sixers going on the road for the third time on the road and losing that game disappointingly, right? You've built some steam, and now it's time for you to lose because you're due for that. You're not supposed to be winning this many games. That's not the case with this Sixers team, which is why I ultimately had to pick the Sixers in the win for that game against the LA Clippers. Let's be honest. All the games this season where the Sixers have had competition, aside from that game against Boston in the opening, I think it was a game against Boston, and then you had the game against Milwaukee. Milwaukee wasn't as bad, but nonetheless, no Chris Middleton. It was disappointing. Boston game was disappointing. They got blown out on Boston's home court, first game of the season. Aside from those two games, I feel that the Sixers have shown up for every single big matchup that they've ran into this season. And it didn't stop with this Clippers matchup. 120-110 win for the Philadelphia 76ers to make 3 wins on the road on this West Coast trip. In this game, we had Embiid with 41 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists. James Harden, only 6 points. Here's where I was wrong. I picked James Harden to be my X factor. 6 points in this game. They still win by 10 on the road in LA against the Clippers, who some people think the Clippers can make the NBA Finals still. They have the talent for sure. They just haven't played together enough. 6 points, 9 assists, 3 rebounds. He was 1 for 6 from the field, so he didn't force it either. That's a good thing. But nonetheless, they were still able to grab a W with Harden only with 6 points. Tyrese Maxey in this game, 22 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 for 5 from the three-point line. Got that three-point stroke going. Got up over the 20-point mark off the bench, mind you. Ran that second unit beautifully. Had moments in the fourth quarter where he ran the unit by himself. Hit 3 after 3. I mean, he's getting back to normal. He's getting his confidence back. And whether he's on the bench or in the starting lineup, it doesn't matter. Maxey's going to do his thing. I love it. I love the fact that Doc was willing to go to this route. I wasn't. I wouldn't have done it. I would have kept Maxey in the starting lineup. I love that Doc is opening up his eyes and saying we can be versatile. We can adjust. Because that's what good teams do. And that was a fault by me for saying that I wouldn't even consider it. You should consider everything if it gives your team a better chance of winning. Tobias Harris in this game, 20 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, 5 steals. My man was active in the passing lanes. My man was active. He was looking for revenge against Kawhi Leonard. He took that matchup personally, and I appreciate it because Kawhi was going ham in the third quarter. Kawhi Leonard in this game, 27 points, 4 rebounds, 10 for 20 from the field. So you get your best punch from Kawhi in this game. Norman Powell, 16 points, 4 for 11 for the field. Nobody else showed up outside of those two. Paul George was on a minutes restriction. Zubac couldn't handle Embiid for shit. It was a great game by the Sixers nonetheless. They had a great lead going into the half. Third quarter, Kawhi Leonard comes out, makes a strong push for the Clippers. They basically they don't miss a shot in the third quarter, it feels like. Sixers go into the fourth. It was a real close game. Maybe they were losing by 1 point. Maybe they were up by 1. Whatever the case may be. They end up winning this game by 10 points thanks to a nice, strong push from Tyrese Maxey. Then you get Harden back in the game. You get Embiid back in the game. They were able to close it out, get all of those guys some rest before the end of the game on this road trip, which is huge because you're playing a Portland Trailblazers team tonight. Some key things in this game. Largest lead was 19 for Philly, so they were up by 19 at one point in this game. They actually tied in rebounding, so Sixers didn't lose the rebounding battle. They won fast break points, 23-14, and they won turnovers, 15-19. So you look at 3 key statistics there, right? Rebounding, they tied, so they didn't lose that battle. They didn't lose the fast break battle, which usually means you didn't lose the turnover battle, right? Those things all feed into each other, and they all contribute towards winning games. So great game from the Sixers there. Let's get into the game at hand for tonight. We have the Portland Trailblazers coming into this one 21-23. They've lost 1. They're 3-7 in their last 10. You look on the opposite, we have the Philadelphia 76ers. Just to give you an update, they're 28-16. They've won 3 in a row. They're 8-2 in their last 10. And I just want to take a look because I know the Sixers are 3rd in the Eastern Conference. The Portland Trailblazers are currently out of the play-in and the playoff conversation right now. They are 1 game out of the 10 seed in the Western Conference. So 1 game out of the play-in tournament as the last seed there. So obviously, Portland Trailblazers, if you remember, if you watched Scotty Talks NBA towards the beginning of the season, I highlighted the Portland Trailblazers. They started out the season very hot, very good, even without Dame. They've kind of came back down to earth. Maybe that's strength of schedule, kind of stiffening up a bit in the recent history. But nonetheless, they're coming back down to earth and kind of where I thought they would be to start the season, if we're being honest here. So when you look at these teams head to head, we look at the 4 major statistical categories as we do every time. Every time it's just me, I have to find things to talk about. And these are the things that I like to talk about, is where Sixers have an advantage, where Sixers have a disadvantage, right? So you look at rebounds per game. Sixers are 29th in the NBA. That's been the story all year. The Sixers struggle with rebounding. Portland, 16th. So they're still in the bottom half, but they're significantly better than the Sixers at rebounding, you could say. Assists per game, Sixers are 14th. Portland is 20th. Not much to talk about there. Opponents' points per game, Sixers 3rd. Portland 13th. So 13 is not that bad of a defensive team. They're in the top half defensively as a unit. Probably comes from Chauncey Billups being the head coach. I would imagine he's always been that way as a player as well. Defensive minded, always playing both sides. You look at the Sixers, obviously 3rd in the NBA. They've moved back up. They had shifted down to 4th. They're moving back up the totem pole. Maybe that's because Maxey was shifted to the bench. The lineups are better, whatever the case may be. Nonetheless, they're in a better spot. You look at points per game, scoring output. Sixers are 15th. Portland is 17th. So not much difference there either. The one difference that you could point to, obviously rebounding between the two teams, and then the defensive side of the ball, which I think is a little more significant. Sixers are one of the best top 3 teams in the NBA when it comes to defense. So when we look at keys to victory for this game, it's a lot of what we talked about all season, but we can always look at it specifically for each level of competition that we're going up against, right? And tonight it's the Portland Trailblazers, not in the play-in tournament, not in the playoff picture right now for the Western Conference. I'm feeding Embiid tonight. You're getting this game out the way early. Now, I know it's the 4th game on the road in a row. It's 4th game on the West Coast trip. You're on the complete other side of the country, different time zones. So there could be some lag there, right? The the rest or lack of could be catching up to them. The sleeping schedule could be catching up to them at this point in the road trip. But what I would say is, what Embiid does. It doesn't matter who's on the opposite side of him. Let it be Yusuf Nurkic. It doesn't matter. Feed Embiid, roll with that two-man game between him and Harden, and you're going to find success. Some things to point out with this key to victory. Joel Embiid hasn't scored under 30 points since New Year's Eve. So since the New Year hit, Embiid said, I'm going to score that motherfucking rock. And he's done it. 6 straight 30-plus point games for Embiid in this one. So since the New Year's Eve, there's been 6 games he's hit the 30-plus point mark in each one of them, which is why the over in Embiid points is a smash every single game. That's why I'm kind of against even putting it as a best bet anymore, because it's just that easy, right? You guys don't need to be told to go hit that. You just do it every game. But nonetheless, feed Embiid, focus on that two-man game. They have no matchup for Joel Embiid in the post. The next thing that I want to look at is defense. And when I say defense, I'm talking about our guards. It isn't Embiid. We know Embiid, the anchor, what he can do as far as shutting down that paint. But Harden, Maxey, D'Anthony Melton, Shake Milton, all of these guys tonight, the 4-guard rotation that plays, these guys have to step up, right? They have to step up to the plate defensively, because you're going against 2 guys that can light you up. Like, when I say light you up, they can give you 50. Dame Lillard, we know what he can do, right? We know the scoring approach that he brings, what he can do on any given night when he hits his ceiling. Anthony Simons is another guy that you have to watch out for, specifically this Sixers team, because I don't know how you do it. Do you put Harden on Simons? Do you put Tobias on Simons? Do you put D'Anthony Melton on Simons, or do you put D'Anthony Melton on Dame? I would imagine he goes on Dame. So where do you go here, right? These are the matchups we're looking at. This is why Harden, Maxey, D-Melt, Shake are so important defensively for this game, because you're going against a backcourt that is ridiculous when it comes to scoring the basketball and penetration. Aside from those two, you do have the other guard, the rookie, Shaedon Sharpe. That dude is nice. I love it. The bounced athletic ability. He can shoot the 3 ball. He's got game. He makes a nice 3-guard rotation for that team. No Gary Payton Jr. in the lineup right now. Their addition in the offseason. So Shaedon Sharpe is that guy, right? That 3rd guard. And they have 3 lethal ones there, because I think Shaedon Sharpe can certainly follow the 2 ahead of him's lead and get to that level at some point. Final key to victory here is going to be the bench. The bench needs to step up, and they have on this road trip. I'm not saying for them to do anything that they haven't been doing, because they've been magnificent. And quite honestly, Maxey on the bench leading that second unit, and then you put Tobias with him to lead that second unit. At times, obviously, Tobias stays in the starting lineup, but when he's on the second unit with Maxey, it is lethal against other second units, man. And that's why I think the bench needs to step up. And now you can lump some of these guys. You could even lump D-Melt with this group, but Shake Milton, Tyrese Maxey, George Niang, Montrezl Harrell's giving us some sparks here down the stretch. D'Anthony Melton's in that conversation. He's had 2 rough games back-to-back. Any of you guys, maybe 2 of them, step up in this game, create a spark. Somebody has to do it outside of Embiid, outside of Harden, outside of that starting unit. We need somebody from the bench to step up. This is the 4th game on the West Coast trip. You're going to have to empty out the tank, right? And you still got one more against a tough Sacramento Kings team after this. Predictions. So those are our keys to victory, right? Feed Embiid, run that 2-man game. Easy. Simple. Harden, Maxey, D-Melt, all of the guards on this Sixers unit, get ready to strap up. Matisse, we need a big game from you tonight. He needs to get some minutes tonight for sure. Guy I haven't even mentioned. Matisse Thybulle needs some minutes tonight. And then finally, 3rd key to victory, bench. Just need to step up like you've been doing. That means Matisse coming in, guarding Dame Lillard, guarding Anthony Simons, guarding Shaedon Sharpe, whatever the case may be. Tyrese Maxey coming in, spark plug. Shake Milton coming in, spark plug, whatever the case may be. George Niang hit 4 or 5 threes. We need a spark on the road for the 4th straight game on the West Coast trip tonight. And I think our bench can give us that. One or two of you guys step up to the plate. You've done it all season. Let's go. Predictions, X factor, goal. Goal of the game. Consistency here. And consistency isn't just winning the game. It's not about that. I want them to win the game, and I'll give you my prediction here after this, but just continue to bring the necessary energy to win. You can lose games. But still give enough effort to win those games. Sometimes the shots don't fall. Sometimes the other team shoots the laces off the ball. You can't control those things sometimes. You can control the effort, the defense, the defensive approach that you put out there, the rebounding ability. You can go out there and control those things. And that's what you need to do tonight. Show that consistency as you've been doing on this road trip. 3 wins. They didn't come out of nowhere. You're doing the right things. You're creating winning tendencies. That is the key here. That is my goal. Consistency. It's kind of what I talked about as I picked the Sixers to beat the Clippers the other night. Good teams, great teams are never due for a loss. That doesn't exist. Good teams are never due for a loss because they're supposed to be winning. It's as simple as that. Predictions here. My X factor is going to be Tyrese Maxey tonight. I'm going to go with Maxey in this one. I went with Harden last game. Didn't come true. Maxey, he showed me something in that 4th quarter. I think he's coming around. He's about to get back to real normal franchise shit. I see Maxey in this one. 20 points, 3+ threes. Like I said, getting back to normal, hitting that jump shot more regularly, the 3-point shot specifically. And ultimately, I think this leads to a Sixers 4th straight victory. I have the Sixers winning this one 111 to 99 for their 4th straight win on the road, their 4th straight victory in general. This is a Portland Trailblazers team. They're 21-23. They've come back down to earth. Obviously, they have a great scoring punch. Dame Lillard, Anthony Simons, Jeremy Grant, we haven't talked much about during this show, but he's another solid piece there. Josh Hart is a player I love, obviously, but they just don't have enough. They don't have enough to be a contender in the NBA. They don't have enough to make the Western Conference playoffs, and they don't have enough to beat a fully healthy Sixers team, even on their 4th straight road game in the West Coast. I don't see it. I got the Sixers taking care of business here, and it starts with their defense. You see this is not a high-scoring game, right? 111 to 99. That means the Sixers are holding this team under 100 points. Show their defensive prowess. Get after it. Get this 4th straight W on the road on this West Coast trip. Finally, let's hit the best bets. My favorite part of the show. Best bets for you guys tonight. I have 3. Sorry I don't have a graphic. I know it's easier with a visual approach. It's easier to remember, easier to go place, screenshot, whatever you need to do. No graphic tonight. We will get that straightened out nonetheless. Best bets of the night, either way here. We got Tyrese Maxey over 18.5 points. I told you he's my X factor of the game. I have him going for 20+ tonight. I'll lay him at the over 18.5 at -108. Once again, this is pre-recorded, so these odds are from FanDuel. You have to check it. They may have changed with the timing, right? We don't know how the lines are going to look at 10 p.m. tonight. So if you're watching this at the normal air time, which you obviously have to be, dumb of me to say, you obviously have to be watching it at the air because it's when it's going to air. Nonetheless, Maxey over 18.5 points. Right now, this is what? 4:51 p.m. at -108 on FanDuel. He actually scored 22 in his last outing. And I look at him tonight. You're on the 4th game of this road trip on the West Coast, right? Your young star is the one that can lead you, right? That's the one that will take over tonight. That's the one that will have the legs to do it. We saw Harden with 6 points. I don't know if that was his legs, if he was taking a night off, whatever the case may be when it comes to him scoring. But Maxey is a young guy that I know I can count on to come out, have fresh legs tonight. And I look for him to easily get over that 18.5 point mark. We're going to need his scoring punch to match what Dame Lillard and Anthony Simons do, right? So we'll smash the 18.5 over for Maxey at minus 108. The next one I have for you is Tobias Harris. Now, you can go the 3 route, which we did last game, I believe, over 1.5 threes at minus 102 today for Tobias Harris. I love that prop. It was one of my best bets for Scotty Talks NBA, so I didn't want to use it here. Another prop that I like from Tobias Harris, over 2.5 assists at plus 136. He's hit that mark in 3 of his last 4 games. And you saw in that last game, he had six assists in that last game. I think that was a revelation. I think that's something that's going to happen normally now. Him running that second unit with Maxey, giving him that responsibility. I think Tobias Harris gets to that 3 assist mark easily with the ball handling duties in that second unit. I'm smashing that at plus 136. And then the final best bet of the night. This one was hard for me. Because I would go one or the other. So we're going to do it different. We don't have a graphic here. We're going to do it differently. I'm going to give you one or the other. You pick your poison, which one you want to dine with, right? So we have Harden over 2.5 threes at minus 108. So not as much juice as the next one, but maybe the safer play with volume. Tyrese Maxey over 2.5 threes at plus 124. That's the one I'm laying. I wanted to give the option because I didn't want to go back-to-back plus odds, just shoot you out of the woodwork. If you feel safer with Harden over 2.5 threes, more volume for Harden, he shoots more threes, right now at least. Minus 108, those are still great odds because I think Harden and Maxey could hit those. But I'm riding with Maxey tonight. Maxey over 2.5 threes at plus 124. He's got the younger and fresher legs. It's what I talked about earlier. I think he's going to be, if there is one guy on the Sixers that has juice tonight, it is going to be Tyrese Maxey, the young guy, fresh legs, ready to make noise on the road. But nonetheless, give you the best bets one more time in a row here. We have Maxey over 18.5 points at minus 108. We have Tobias Harris over 2.5 assists at plus 136. We have James Harden at over 2.5 threes at minus 108. But you have an option, Harden or Maxey. Maxey over 2.5 threes is plus 124. That's what I'm riding with personally. But if you feel safer with Harden, ride with it. It's minus 108. Those are still great odds. Just understand they're subject to change by the time you may see this episode. So nonetheless, best bets for the night for you guys. Let's go. Let's cash tickets. Let's not only cash tickets, but let's get W's. Let's get wins. Get this win on the road tonight. 4th win in a row for the Sixers. Next up, we got the Kings in Sacramento. 10 p.m. Saturday night game right after the Eagles are getting ready to wrap up, whooping the Giants' ass. We can turn right over to the Sixers taking on the Kings. But nonetheless, let's start here tonight. Get this 4th win on the road. Set it straight. Let the Sixers fans know where you're at. But more importantly, let the NBA know where you're at. We're making some noise. We're playing great basketball right now. Go Sixers. That is going to be it for this episode of DSM Pre Game Live. Thank you guys for tuning in. And as always, go Sixers. And hit that subscribe button. Peace, everybody.